Today, in this episode of TICE, we'll be talking about the ICC Cricket World Cup and the opportunities that it presents for the Indian startup ecosystem. In conversation with us today, we have Mr. Rajesh Joshi, who is a serial entrepreneur and a startup evangelist who has been working closely with the startup ecosystem. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, good to be here.
Rajesh ji, the ICC World Cup is here, and I'm sure as a cricket nation who loves to watch cricket and support their Indian team, we have a common passion for cricket. What are your early memories, sir, of cricket and the love that we have for cricket?
Thank you for having me here. First of all, I'm wishing everybody a happy Ganesh Chaturthi. The Ganesh festival is for the next 10 days, so wishing all well. And the bigger festival of cricket is going to be in this country in the next 15 days, which is the ODI World Cup. My earliest memory of cricket is the 83 World Cup, जब भी कोई घरों में ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट टीवी हुआ करते थे और मोहल्ले में शायद हर एक के पास टीवी नहीं था, सो एक दो लोगों के पास टीवी था. And I remember watching as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old in somebody's house when Kapil Dev lifted the World Cup. ज़्यादा पता नहीं था क्रिकेट के बारे में because I was just 6-7-year-old, but we used to play. But the nitty-gritties नहीं पता थी. But yeah, so that's the earliest memory. So World Cup, and I think so have many people memories with the World Cup.
Talking about memories, sir, the memory of us, of Kapil Dev lifting the World Cup in '83 and Dhoni hitting the winning six in the 2011 World Cup is something that lives with us. But the memory that we also have is the hoardings of the companies that are presented near the boundary lines, the various ads and the ad campaigns that we see when the Cricket World Cup or such sports event is going to start. So, sir, how do you think this Cricket World Cup that is going to take place in India from October 5, what are the opportunities that it presents for the startup ecosystem?
That's a very good question, and I think first of all, congratulations to all of you to bring up this topic 15 days before the World Cup, because I think congratulations to your team, because not many people have done stories on this, that कैसे World Cup को use किया जाए for startups and how startups can use it. Like I said, in India, हमारे देश में बॉलीवुड फिल्म्स एंड क्रिकेट आर द टू मोस्ट पैशनेट थिंग. आज जवान हिट हो जाती है तो सब जवान का जैसे लुक बना लेते हैं. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट माई सेल्फ, but that's the emotion which films and cricket bring in. And here दिल के ऊपर, I mean, दिल ऊपर रहता है, दिमाग ये रहता है पीछे. The first opportunity for all the startups is use emotions. If you try to remember any ads during the Cricket World Cup or during so on, they were targeting emotions because it's a thing of passion. जैसे आपने correctly बोला. So see if you are a startup, if you can target the emotions. And the emotions in sport is two things primarily, right? एक है fear, fear of losing, fear of not playing well. And the other one is joy of winning and joy seeing your team win. So I think startups can use these two emotions. One is the fear. So a lot of B2B startups हैं India में जो B2B business to business selling करते हैं. They can use this emotion of fear because every client has a fear of something going wrong in his business, but then startup has a solution for it. So use that and the joy, build a trust that we are there as a team, which you can use it within your team also. So I think sports brings that passion of fear and joy. Startups should use this emotions as a primary theme, as a target, and build campaigns around it during the World Cup.
Rajesh, as you truly mentioned that the startups and the Indian startup ecosystem should take part in it and play a crucial role on utilizing these emotions that the Indians have towards sports and using it for their growth. So as a startup person, you have also done startups and you're closely working with the Indian startup ecosystem. What certain strategies that you would suggest the startup in India present to leverage this ICC ODI World Cup so that they can have a wider reach to their audience, and they can also use these funds to run ad campaigns, as you mentioned, run campaigns, indulge with the spectators of the sport to reach a greater audience?
Yeah. So like I said, first thing is use target emotions. It's an emotional play. Sports is passionate. It's जब हम हमारा दिल से सोचते हैं, दिमाग से नहीं सोचते. So if startups can use this entire, and the best thing is it's the World Cup is in India, and 140 crore Indians will be kind of rooting for India to win. हम सब एक होके एक चीज के लिए, one goal in the country is how do we lift the World Cup on 19 November. So this 45 days opportunity which every startup has is to first use emotions. See if you can use these emotions to sell, market your product or service. That's the first thing. So, sell it within your company, within your ecosystem, within the national boundaries. And obviously, a lot of international uh, guests will be coming also to watch the World Cup, right? We did a spectacular job of the G20 for the last 1 year, how we kind of showcased our economy, our startups to all these guests coming. So a lot of the foreign people who are going to visit for the startups. So that's another opportunity for startups doing international business, is like you have this opportunity to showcase your product by targeting emotion. Second thing, I think you can leverage locality. So for example, I think there are 10, 12 stadiums where, 10, 12 cities where these startup matches are, where these World Cup matches are happening. Startups present in those cities can use that opportunity around the stadium. 40, 50,000 people, are trying to enter the stadium. They can use the leverage the locality. It's a great time for a Pune-based startup to see if they can market their product in Bhubaneswar, Guwahati, Kolkata, right? So maybe a Pune-based startup want to grow nationally. They can use the stadium and the atmosphere around stadium to and leverage the locality, part of it. Third is ambush marketing. I mean, being startup are very young, are very flexible. They have great thought process. They are more creative, innovative. Think about creative, innovative ways that when you can do ambush marketing. Ambush marketing is not illegal, but it's one of those guerrilla marketing tactics which a startup can use. How you can use these 40, 50,000 people coming in a place to watch a cricket match and see how you can leverage. So a lot of things you can do physically on ground. And then B2B, right? A lot of startups are into B2B. So वो लोग एक screening organize कर सकते हैं. They can organize something around their office or around their city and try to gather people to watch a big screening match. So B2B, you can call your purchase managers or whoever is making the purchase decision, invite them to watch a match with you, with your team, with their team, and that's the best way. So that's the third way probably to do. And obviously social media marketing. I mean, social media, the emotions will be so heightened. The hashtag World Cup India, hashtag Bharat Jeetega, hashtag this thing. You should use those hashtags to promote your services, your product, and your solutions.
Rajesh, there is, according to media reports, these big brands such as Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they are trying to hire some of the most elite Indian athletes, like Hardik Pandya is rumored to be linking with Coca-Cola ahead of the World Cup, and they'll be using such personalities. These big companies will be using such personalities so that they reach a wider audience. What can startups who cannot afford such stars? For example, a Virat Kohli will be charging such a certain amount, which a startup which has just started may not be able to afford. So, what is the solution to this? For example, do they hire someone who is, if they want to hire a person through which they reach a wider audience, but they cannot afford someone like a Virat Kohli or a Hardik Pandya, what solution can they have?
So that's a good question. And I think when I was running my startups, Bajao.com was one of my startup, and I wanted to see how I can make a play. So, one thing you would see, I think you would see during the cricket matches also, and I've seen it in many matches, like one Indian brand is advertising on an Indian t-shirt. But if India is playing against Bangladesh or Nepal, you would have a different brand advertising there because it's cheaper to get onto a Nepal t-shirt or a Bangladesh t-shirt. Taking that example, I'm not saying startups can do that. Taking that as an example, I think startups can look at innovative ways to sell their package. So some startups can name their package as a Virat package or a Rohit package. I mean, Virat is, there might be 1 million people named Virat, but you can name your packages as Virat. You can, if you are a restaurant or you're into FMCG, you can name your product based on the helicopter shot. So there are a lot of ways you can use branding around cricket. The great thing about cricket is, or the ODI is, it's a 6-hour long match or it's a 6-hour long session. There are many things which happen. There would be, I think, 1 million movements in a match, which you can capture, use it for your brand advantage. I think most of the people, most of the startups should use at looking at social media and looking at the fervor that cricket, everybody is rooting cricket, how they can stand out amongst your competition. You don't have to compete with the bigger brands. You need to stand out with your competition. You have to stand out as your brand. So look at innovative ways to do it. Don't think whether you cannot afford a Hardik or a Virat or a Rohit. You can use their names in a strategic way to promote your product, but you can use different strategies within your competition, within your peers, to elevate your brand and enhance your reputation within that market.
Okay. Rajesh ji, you mentioned really good points, and I'm sure that the Indian startups that are here would adhere to it and look to utilize these points to increase their reach. The FIFA World Cup that happened a year back, we saw Qatar as a country, because it had such great audience, access to such great audience, people from all over the world came there. They took certain initiatives to promote the startup ecosystem. So as a country, as Bharat, can we do something better to promote our startup ecosystem, since the world will be watching us?
Well, that's a great question. And I think what Qatar did with the FIFA World Cup, I think India did a great job with G20 when we were the presidency and we hosted. Startups were amongst the top 5 things which we promoted during the G20 presidency of India. And a lot of startups, I know for a fact, I know some of them who have been benefited, who got the international exposure, who got few clients, who got some technology know-how and those things. I think it's another great opportunity, and I hope somebody from BCCI is listening to this, that you should use this platform where the global eyes, or the cricket playing nations, their eyes would be on India, competing for the biggest honor in cricket, which is the Cricket World Cup. We can use, and this is to BCCI, this is to all from the ecosystem. Can we come together? This is another way for us from the startup ecosystem, with the government's help and with BCCI and the respective organization, to see if we can further boost our startups, right? There are a lot of sports startups in India. There are a lot of sports tech startups in India. There are a lot of startups who are making athleisure wear in India. I know at least 100, 200 of them within these sectors. So I think we can do a fantastic job, again, like we did with G20. I mean, we have 15 days, maybe the time is less, but I know the agility of the Indian startups and the Indian entrepreneurs, and even the government and the entire machinery. I think they can put their act together and do something. And that's a great question which you brought in. I think it will be good to showcase, and it will be great that India lifting the World Cup on 19th November, and some Indian startups also lifting the trophies in terms of their business expansion, their more revenues, their more investments.
Rajesh ji, the final question that I have for you on this live segment is, sometimes, as you mentioned, in the spur of the moment, the companies or the startups that are looking to leverage such opportunities, they go on a spending spree. They promote, they hire players, they sign up contracts with players, which at the end sometimes end up for them being expensive. And then they have to cut down on their employees, or they have to compromise on the customer experience that they're providing. So where should such startups or companies draw a line, as if this is their budget, or this is something that they're willing to spend, and it will not affect their day-to-day functioning?
Well, I think this is a larger question, not just to do with the World Cup and how you spend on this thing. I think it's a larger question of the ethos, the philosophy. हमारे कंट्री में जैसे हम बचपन से सुनते आए हैं कि जितनी चद्दर होती है उतना ही पैर फैलाना चाहिए, राइट? सो सम पीपल सोचते हैं कि मैं पूरा पैर फैला लूँ, फिर वैसी चद्दर ले आऊँगा. So there are two philosophies, and I think not every startup does that mistake. Some startups are frugal. Some startups, I think, it's the entrepreneur mindset also. Sometimes they do overspend. Yes, I agree that it's a cause of concern that हमारी country में, when we are creating unicorns and spending so much on marketing and business development, at the same time we are also firing staff, right? I know where your concern comes from, but at the same time, Google जैसी कंपनियां, Amazon जैसी कंपनियां, they are also doing the same thing. Sometimes it's the market force which plays, but yes, I think to each is his own. Every startup founder knows what he or she is doing, and I think they make those calls based on उस वक्त उनको क्या सही लगता है, या उनके investors जो करते हैं, या I'm sure they don't do it unilaterally. There is a team working. So I would say that to each is his own. At the same time, there are a lot of profitable companies. It's a hard question to answer, that whether this person did right or this person did wrong, and what it is, but it's a global phenomena that the first वो बोलते हैं ना, पहली तलवार जहाँ पे भी कंपनी में cost cutting होती है, इंसानों पे गिरती है. So I think that's what is happening globally. it is not just India unicorn phenomenon. वो सब जगह पे same ही चीज होती है. So my thing is that just be frugal. Like I said, that there are two concepts. एक है जितनी जितनी चद्दर है उतने पैर फैलाओ, या दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट है जितना पैर फैलाना फैला दो, उस हिसाब से चद्दर लेके आओ. So I think it's just the two philosophy, and every entrepreneur is different. They think differently. So I don't think it's a major concern. But yes, employees के लिए life becomes difficult.
Okay. Rajesh ji, do you have any final words for the Indian startups and the Indian startup ecosystem before we conclude this session as to how they can actually turn this event into a bonanza or extravaganza for themselves as well?
Yeah, so I think the World Cup is a great opportunity. Like I said, for startups, every startup can look at how they can leverage the biggest festival of India in India by Indians of the Cricket World Cup in our homeland, in our Bharat. But again, the strategy might not work for everyone. So, we should not do the herd mentality. Look at it whether how your brand fits in, how your startup fits in with the ODI World Cup, what messaging you can do, how you can showcase your product, services, solutions better, how you can engage with your B2B customers, use this festival opportunity. Like I said, sports is a passionate thing for Indians. Films and sports, film and cricket are so much passionate, where we use our heart more than our head. So use that opportunity to leverage, to enhance your brand. But at the same time, just don't do it for the sake of doing it, because a lot of people, follow the herd mentality, like you talked about, people overspending on marketing budgets and all. So just be watchful of that. Get together with your team today, tomorrow, within the next 2-3 days after your Ganesh festival holiday. See how you can leverage with it. Like I said, sports is all about fear, or fear of losing, fear of not performing well, and it's also about joy. See if you can connect these two emotions with your product and services and sell it.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thank you for coming on this live segment of TICE and sharing some expert insights onto how startups can use this World Cup as an opportunity to reach greater audience and use it for their benefit. Thanks for coming on the show, Rajesh ji.
Thank you. All the best, guys.